Hey, back, it's me, and in today's video, yes, another Hammer film, we are going to take a look at Blood from the Mummy's Tomb from 1971. This is the fourth and last of the Mummy films. This is 94 minutes long. It's 32%. It's quite low, isn't it, on Rotten Tomatoes? I don't know where they got that from, but we always have this discussion, don't we? But yeah, it doesn't really make sense at all. But hey, that's them. Right. Now, this is an adaptation of Bram Stoker's 1903 novel, The Jewel of the Seven Stars. This was written after the Dracula, and this film follows that very much. And of course, we've not got the typical bandage mummy image. No. And this obviously was an attraction of this film. And it's the first adaptation of it, though there was I think a TV adaptation, but this is the first screen adaptation. And since that, the book has been adapted again. 1980s The Awakening, Charlton Heston, that's one of the adaptations of this novel. Anyhow, the screenplay was written by Christopher Wicking. Yes, Christopher Wicking. Now, he's wrote Demons of the Mind, which is one that divides opinion sometimes amongst Hammer films. And I really appreciate Demons of the Mind. Once you get past a lot of things, that's from 1972. It is a very interesting film. I think it's underrated, actually. I do. And then he wrote the very last Hammer, or co-wrote, so should I say, To the Devil a Daughter from 1976. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? He says it was produced by Howard Brandy, who I think, from what I gather, was trying to interfere in certain aspects of this film, but it was, I think they kind of overruled him. Certainly Michael Carreras, as usual, and the director, I don't think, took too kindly to some of that things. Also, the screenplay, as I mentioned, as usual, the directors, I think, had a very much a say in changing aspects of that screenplay, as they seem to, often do at Hammer, which is part of the thing. Now, this film, when it came out, was a support to the wonderful Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. I mean, what a double bill, because this is, even though it's the B supporting role, what a film to have us. It must have been wonderful seeing those two films. Wow, those were the days of cinema, weren't they? Great, absolutely. It was filmed at Elstree Studios. There was some location you do see. I think that was done around that area. And it's set in contemporary 1970s. Yes, it's set in the 70s. So we're well away from the Gothic era. We're well away from that mummy sort of 1920s. This is set in the contemporary world in the 1970s. Yeah. And I think that is very interesting. You could see it anyhow in certainly the fashions and, just the feel about it. And of course, it's directed, as I say, by Seth Holt. Seth Holt. This was his last film, and tragically, he died on set. And the rest of the directing duties were then taken over by Michael Carreras. He had to put it together. He had a week to do more filming. Apparently, these sort of asylum scenes he had to film, and he had to put all this together. So the director never saw his vision of what this film was about, which is quite sad. He directed Taste of Fear, 1961. That's one with Christopher Lee, and it's a Hammer thriller. And then he was in The Nanny. He directed The Nanny. He's great. What a great film that is. Starring Betty Davis, the iconic film. Anyhow, so this is his last film. And then the other aspect I must point out is that Peter Cushing had been cast as the professor, but he only did one day of filming and had to withdraw totally from the film because of his wife's illness. She was dying, and he had to simply leave, and therefore they had to bring in somebody else in the title role, which they did. So I'll go through that cast. The cast, therefore, is headed by Andrew Keir, or Keir, I suppose, Andrew Keir. He plays Julian, the professor, right? Now, he was in, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, 1966. What a film to be in. One of Hammer's great films, great Dracula films. But also, if you're like me with your Doctor Who hat on, he was in Dalek Invasion Earth, 2150 AD. Yes, 1966. That one, great. I'm in already, And then just to put the icing on the cake, he was in the Quatermass and the Pit as Professor Quatermass. Yes. Well, there we are. Fantastic. Then perhaps the most important casting in the whole of the film is Valerie Leon playing Margaret and Queen Terror. Wow, this is a brilliant piece of casting. Now, what is her history? It's very interesting. She had a lot of Carry On films. Yeah, we've got Carry On. Oh, I'm really delivering it today, aren't I? She was in Carry On Up the Khyber, 1968. Carry On Camping, 1969. Carry On Again, Doctor, 1969. Carry On Up the Jungle, 1970. Carry On Matron, yes, she was in that, 1972. And Carry On Girls, 1973. And then, to top it all, yes, she was in The Spy Who Loved Me. Yeah, we've got a James Bond connection. Oh, how wonderful it is to have all this, She is effectively involved in 3 iconic British films, figures, production companies. Here we are. She was in the Carry On films. She was in the Hammer films here. And then she was in a James Bond film. Wow. There we are. Great. Oh, yes. Anyhow, what else have we got? We've got James Villiers playing Corbeck, and I think he's the real villain here. Wow. He plays this well. He's one of these great villains that he has a certain presence, and his face seems quite familiar. When you look at what he did, we've got a Carry On connection. Yes, he was in Carry On Sergeant, 1958. And now this one I think is interesting for me. He was in Repulsion, 1965. That is a Roman Polanski's first film. Catherine Deneuve. Wow, that is a real proper film. And then, He's in The Nanny. Yeah, and in The Nanny, he's a very leading role. I remember in The Nanny. 1965, The Nanny, which is a Hammer film production. So it's already got Hammer links. And then, well, I'm doing well here, for me personally. He was in Asylum, the Amicus film I'm always talking about. Asylum, 1972. Fantastic film. It's perhaps one of my favourite of the Amicus films. And then, oh yes, he's in a James Bond film. Wow, this is getting better, isn't it? He was in For Your Eyes Only, 1981. Wow, yes. Then we've got Hugh Burden. Now, he plays Jeffrey. Oh, wow, look at this. Spearhead from Space, 1970. Doctor Who. He was in that, yes. Wow, that is the first colour story of Doctor Who. John Pertwee's first story. Fantastic, 1970. And then he's in a film that does pop up a bit. It's like a comedy horror with what's his name now? Oh, crikey. The comedian. Oh, yes. Well, it's The House in Nightmare Park. Yeah, Frankie Howard. That's it. I couldn't think of his name. Frankie Howard. Yeah, who's in a comedy horror film. Yeah, 1973. Wow, he's in that. Oh dear. And then we've got George Koudasis, I would say, playing Berrigan. Wow, this bloke, this actor, wow, it's Citizen Kane, 1941, which is, looked up as a great film. Papillon, 1973. Murder on the Orient Express, 1974. These are just a few films I've just picked out. Then we've got Mark Edwards, who plays Todd Browning. Cromwell, he's in Cromwell. I mean, he's in Cromwell. Love Cromwell. And then he's in Terror in the Wax Museum from 1973. Wow, this cast is great, isn't it? And then we have got Rosalind Crutchley, who was in another classic British horror film, The Haunting, from 1963. That is considered one of the great films. She was in another Hammer film, yes. Creatures the World Forgot, from 1971. Oh, yes. And then one more I'll give you. Audrey Morris, the face you recognise straight away, playing Dr. Putnam, Clockwork Orange. How iconic you get. 1971. The Wicker Man. Oh my. He was in The Wicker Man from 1973. And then he was in, again, I like my personal films that I really like. He was in The Life Force, that Tobe Hooper brilliant bonkers classic, 1985. Tobe Hooper's classic. Life Force. Oh yeah, I could go on about Life Force, but anyway, I won't. But yes, I have actually reviewed it. Yes. Anyhow, so that is the cast of this brilliant film. The film, I think the first thing you notice, the film gives rather a great introduction. The introduction, the story, we get the original story of the Queen and the curse and everything that sort of happened from that with the blood and the hand, and you get all that, and it's brilliantly atmosphere. And then we get to see that linked with when the archaeological dig and discovery took place. All this is wonderfully put together, and you get the story there. But that beginning with it puts it gives the film actually a slightly different flavour, I would say, to what we normally expect from Hammer. The music as well. The music was composed by Tristan Carey, and this music is absolutely superb. It's He was a British Australian composer, and yes, oh yes, he apparently wrote the music from the first Dalek story in TV series 1963, the very first that brought the Daleks into public. Yes, that really set Doctor Who going. 1960, he wrote music for that, and then he wrote music for Quatermass and the Pit. Hey, the Hammer film 1967, which of course had Andrew Keir starring in it. Wow. Anyhow, so I think it's interesting from the director's viewpoint is we've got this, we've not got the Gothic style at all here. It's very different, and the feel, the way he films it is fantastic. It's very different, I would say, from your normal Hammer experience. We have obviously throughout seen different Hammer experiences, and that has always been part of, like, yeah, I'm thinking of like The Witcher's 1966 one. That one is particularly got a very different tone to it, and this one has. And then a lot of it, of course, is set in 1970s. Yeah, it's 1971, the contemporary world. And that is an interesting, the way it is, the fashions and seeing it, all that. I mean, obviously Hammer's, as we see with Dracula AD in 1972, takes a step into the modern world and continues from that, as well as we're still having some of the Gothic stuff. But this is an interesting film, really. I think what makes this film is very much, well, the performance by Valerie Leon. I mean, I just thinking about her in this film, she dominates it. Her appearance, her look, she's just something special, really special in this film. I can't explain it all, but she is fantastic. I think you are immediately drawn to the screen watching her. She is that good. And I like the way she plays it and the story, how it, about the evil, the fighting, the power. Because in the end, she's more powerful than all of them, really, the Queen and what she does. And it is a fantastic look at this film, the supernatural side. And of course, as we've seen, if you're a conspiracy theory kind of person who likes, we can look at various films. We could talk about like Poltergeist and Exorcist and other things. There is this is the first Hammer one that I've come across which has got those things in it where things didn't quite go right on filming. In fact, with Peter Cushing and also with the director dying on set. I mean, wow, this is, if you're a conspiracy horror kind of thing, you think, wow, was this anything to do? Did they stir up anything in the script and all these chantings and all this sort of stuff? Great stuff. If you like that kind of trivia. But it just adds to the mystique of the film. I absolutely love this film. I'm watching it. It's just, it feels a bit different. And maybe that is also, we don't know what the director's vision was totally in this. So that's another part, and we'll never know. But it makes it a very interesting film, and well worth watching. And it's different from all the three Mummy films we've had before this. And I'd highly recommend this film. Yes, I do. Now it got this release, which I've got here. 2017, this Studio Canal. Look at that cover, fantastic cover. Then we've got that. This is a slip cover. Usual inside, a DVD, a Blu-ray. There is only one documentary on here, which is a shame. I was thinking we should have more, but It's a very good documentary. It's excellent documentary. Very good. Highly recommended. And that's it, really. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm still thinking about this film because it's not long ago since I watched it, and it's very fresh in my mind, and yeah, I really got a lot out of it. I really did. And now, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe, and or even if you're not new, subscribe, because then we'll let you know when I put these videos out. And also, if you like it, please give it a like. It helps with algorithms and all that sort of stuff. And it all costs no, which you can't say fairer than that. And if you've got any comments, please put those comments down. I'll always answer your comments. I love your comments. I do. And that's it, really. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.